Welcome to the Heart of Mastery. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive that's poised to fundamentally reshape your understanding of, well, you. We often casually use the phrase mind-body connection, right? It sounds wonderfully profound, almost a bit mystical, but what does it genuinely mean for our daily lives? Is it just a comforting concept we nod along to, or maybe something far more powerful that actively sculpts our reality, our health, our happiness?
Exactly. It's a concept that for many can feel a bit fuzzy, something we acknowledge perhaps, but might not fully integrate into how we approach our health or our emotions or even our future. Today, we're cutting through that confusion, thanks to some truly incredible sources that bridge the vast chasm we once imagined between our thoughts, our deepest feelings, and every single vibrant cell in our bodies. We've unearthed groundbreaking research that unmistakably shows just how intricately intertwined our psychological and physical health truly are, moving light years beyond that old, outdated idea of mind and body as separate entities, like two distinct machines just running side by side.
Our mission today is to meticulously pull out the most vital, actionable insights from these fascinating materials spanning from cutting-edge scientific research to profound personal epiphanies, and give you a powerful shortcut to being truly well-informed about how your inner world profoundly impacts your outer one. We're talking surprising, jaw-dropping facts, genuine aha moments that click into place, and hopefully more than a few laughs along the way. Think of this as your personal guide to unlocking some of life's deepest secrets without feeling overwhelmed by a tidal wave of information. So get ready to move, feel, reflect, and truly imagine along with us, because what we're about to unpack is not just incredibly interesting, it's deeply, profoundly relevant to your health, your happiness, and even your future. Okay, let's unpack this. We toss around the term mind-body connection all the time. It's become a bit of a buzzword, hasn't it? But what's the actual tangible science behind it? When you're feeling anxious, for example, is that just in your head? Or is your body spilling secrets too? Like, is your stomach churning because you're nervous? Or is it a deeper, more fundamental connection?
Our sources confirm unequivocally that the mind and body are, in fact, one seamless system. Dr. Candace Pert, a brilliant neuroscientist, made a truly remarkable discovery decades ago that completely redefined our understanding of emotions. She showed that emotions aren't just abstract feelings or fleeting thoughts bouncing around in your skull. They are actual molecules, tiny, tangible chemicals present throughout our entire physiology. Think of them like incredibly busy, microscopic messengers, these molecules of emotion, zipping around your bloodstream, binding to cells, carrying your feelings with them to every corner of your body.
Wow, so emotions aren't just abstract concepts, they're actual things inside us, physical manifestations of our inner state. This redefines so much, doesn't it? Because if emotions are molecules throughout the body, can we still classify them as simply in the mind? Our sources say absolutely not. When we experience a strong emotion, our body has a clear, undeniable physical reaction. We use common phrases all the time without even realizing how literally true they are, like feeling a heartache after a breakup, or when you say, my jaw is clenched with stress, or feeling a knot in your stomach when you're nervous, or tension in your neck or back. It's not just a figure of speech. Your body is literally physically reacting to your emotional state. It's like your nerves are tiny messengers riding bikes through your body, delivering your feelings everywhere.
That's precisely it. This profound, undeniable connection between the psychological and physiological aspects of our being becomes even clearer when we examine something we can all agree exists, with both psychological and physiological properties: trauma.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Our sources suggest that what we perceive as dysfunction of mind-body can actually be understood in many cases as trauma. It's almost as if trauma serves as a powerful, undeniable bridge, encapsulating that entire interconnected experience of mental and physical distress deeply imprinted on our very selves.
And especially post-pandemic, so many people are experiencing different versions of trauma on top of whatever pre-existing ones they may have had. It's truly a universal experience in various forms. Even mental health professionals undeniably notice that trauma affects physical health far beyond just mental well-being. It's an inverse relationship. What happens in your mind echoes in your body, and vice versa. There's rigorous research demonstrating these direct links between prolonged stress and physical illnesses like chronic inflammation, heart attacks, and a decreased immune response. You simply cannot separate the mind from the body. They are exquisitely and intricately connected. It's like trying to separate the wetness from water.
So if anxiety isn't just a mental state, if it clearly shows up in the body, what happens if we actually treat the emotion to fix a physical problem? It sounds a bit like magic, doesn't it? like waving a wand over your feelings to heal your back.
It sounds like leveraging the body's innate wisdom, a wisdom we've perhaps overlooked. A recent study by Dr. Peter Bablis focused on patients suffering from chronic low back pain. And here's the kicker. Instead of traditional physical rehabilitation, these patients were treated only with neuroemotional technique, or NET, which specifically addresses emotions. And when we say addresses emotions, we mean it's a gentle, non-invasive system that identifies and helps release unresolved emotional patterns. Patterns that are physically stored in the body, often manifesting as pain or other symptoms. What's fascinating here is their low back pain significantly improved. But it didn't stop there. There was also a measurable improvement in their inflammatory markers, a key indicator of chronic stress and risk for serious health issues. This improvement reduces the risk of life-threatening conditions like heart disease and stroke. This powerfully suggests that shifting deeply held emotional states can have profound, measurable physiological impacts, not just make you feel a bit better.
Think about that for a moment. This isn't just about feeling better in your head. It's about real measurable changes in your body chemistry, down to a cellular level. What physical sensations do you notice when you're feeling a strong emotion like stress or joy? Maybe your shoulders involuntarily tense up, or your breath gets shallow and ragged. You can literally feel your emotions and their physical impact throughout your entire being. So let's try something simple right now, together. Perhaps even take a deep, slow breath in, filling your lungs. And as you gently exhale, consciously let your shoulders soften and relax. See how even small intentional changes in your physical habits can create big calming shifts in your brain, signaling safety and allowing clearer, more expansive thought. It's like a secret language between your body and your brain, whispering it's okay to relax, you're safe. For decades, we were pretty much programmed to believe that our genes were our absolute destiny. Biology's central dogma declared that DNA ruled everything, like the first cause of who we are, dictating everything from our eye color to our susceptibility to diseases. It was a pretty deterministic and frankly a bit of a depressing view of life. We were passive recipients of our genetic lottery.
This rigid concept suggested that if a disease ran in your family, you were quite literally a ticking time bomb waiting for it to explode, powerless to intervene. Conventional thought even estimated we'd need at least 120,000 genes to account for all our complex proteins and traits. It really painted a picture of us as helpless victims of our inherited genetic code.
Yeah, imagine your life is a meticulously pre-written book where every chapter, every plot twist, every little detail from your inherent talents to your potential illnesses is already locked down by your genes from the moment you're conceived. Scary, right? Where's the adventure, the free will, the sense of possibility in that? It's like being handed a script and told, just read your lines.
But then a jolt. One scientist, Dr. Bruce H. Lipton, experienced what he vividly calls a scientific epiphany in 1985. Isolated on an emerald island, far from the rigid parameters of conventional academic thought, this breakthrough fundamentally shattered his long-held beliefs about the nature of life itself.
And get this, Dr. Lipton had spent nearly 2 decades programming countless medical students with that very central dogma, that unwavering belief that life is solely controlled by genes. But his own government-funded research on cloning stem cells had already planted some persistent, niggling doubts. He even once, in a lecture at Stanford, famously accused geneticists of being no better than religious fundamentalists for stubbornly adhering to the central dogma, despite growing evidence to the contrary. What a bold voice, truly willing to challenge the establishment.
His truly profound breakthrough realization: the character of our lives is determined not by our genes, but by our responses to environmental signals. It's like realizing that your pre-written book isn't rigid at all, but a vibrant, living, choose-your-own-adventure where the path you take and what happens next is constantly influenced by what you encounter and how you react. This raises an important question. What does this epigenetic revolution actually mean for you, the listener, and your incredible human potential?
Epigenetics literally means control above genetics. It's the new revolutionary field proving, with overwhelming evidence, that our DNA blueprints are not set in concrete at birth. It's like DNA is the hardware, the foundational computer code, but your environment is constantly reprogramming and fine-tuning the software, telling your genes when and how to express themselves.
Precisely. Environmental influences, including nutrition, chronic stress, and our emotional states, can actually modify genes without changing their basic blueprint, turning them on or off, or modulating their activity. And these modifications, epigenetics has discovered, can even be passed on to future generations. This is a monumental shift in understanding.
Mind-blowing. This isn't just some abstract concept. We've got incredibly clear, illustrated examples that really hammer this home and make it impossible to ignore.
Take the landmark Duke University study from 2003, for instance. They powerfully showed that an enriched environment in mice could completely override genetic mutations. Genetically identical mice looked radically different. One group was lean and healthy brown, the other obese and yellow, based purely on the mother's diet during pregnancy. The headlines, "Diet Trumps genes," were, in this case, scientifically accurate.
And it gets wilder. A Stanford study in 2015 found that 3/4 of the variations in identical twins' immune systems were due to non-heritable environmental influences like microbes, toxins, diet, and even vaccinations. This completely overshadowed genetics as the dominant factor. Mark Davis, the lead researcher, noted that a healthy human immune system continually adapts, overshadowing the influences of most heritable factors. It's about constant adaptation, not predetermined fate.
And remember that initial massive estimate for the Human Genome Project of 120,000 plus human genes to account for our complexity. Turns out it was vastly overblown. Advances in mapping now show humans have only about 19,000 genes, a number quite similar to a simple worm. This further undermines the old idea of genes as the sole masters of our destiny. It's not about how many genes you have, but rather how they are expressed by the environment.
So, in the spirit of a wise old saying,
Yeah.
updated by Nietzsche in 1990 for biology, when it comes to genetic control, it's not the gene itself, but the environment that's signaling the shots. It's not an inherent property of the gene that activates it. It's a dynamic, constant signal from its living environment.
And if that isn't enough to completely make you rethink your genetic destiny and empower your future, let's talk about telomeres. You've probably heard about telomeres and their role in aging, those protective caps on your DNA that shorten with each cell division, much like the plastic tips on shoelaces preventing the laces from fraying.
Yeah, those little guys, so like the ultimate cellular age clock.
Yeah.
They determine how many times your DNA can be copied before things start to go wonky and cells begin to break down.
Our sources highlight that the mind is the primary influence controlling telomerase activity. That's the crucial enzyme that actually rebuilds and maintains telomeres. And this, crucially, is influenced by the fundamental programming we acquired before age 7. What's truly fascinating here is we can consciously empower ourselves right now by actively enhancing our own telomerase activity. This means your beliefs and perceptions, especially those deeply ingrained ones from childhood, are literally shaping your cellular health, your vitality, and even your lifespan. It's like having a remote control for your own aging process.
Okay, let's zoom in even further, way past genes, all the way into the individual cell. We've always been taught that the nucleus is the brain of the cell, right? That little central command center packed with all the DNA issuing orders. But what if that conventional wisdom is completely wrong? What if the real action, the true control, is happening somewhere else entirely?
Our sources tell us that over 100 years ago, embryologists routinely performed experiments where they carefully removed the nuclei from egg cells. And those enucleated cells, surprisingly, still developed and functioned. Today, these nucleus-free cells are even used for industrial purposes, like making virus vaccines, precisely because they retain their biological functions without a nucleus. This unequivocally proves the nucleus isn't the true brain of the cell, merely the cell's reproductive organ, holding the genetic blueprint.
So if not the nucleus, then who or what is actually running the show inside your 50 trillion little cellular citizens? Who's actually sending the signals, making split-second decisions, and keeping everything coordinated?
The true brain-controlling cellular life, what Dr. Lipton cleverly and wonderfully calls the magical membrane, or membrane, is the cell's outer boundary. It's the dynamic interface that constantly reads and translates complex environmental signals into precise cellular behavior. It's the cell's most fundamental vital organelle found in every single living cell on Earth.
So the cell isn't just blindly acting on internal instructions from the nucleus, it's constantly listening and responding to the world around it. How does this ingenious membrane actually work its magic, allowing such incredible sensitivity and control?
Imagine the cell membrane as a highly specialized dynamic bread and butter sandwich, but a really smart one. The phospholipids form the bread and butter layers. They're essentially an electrical insulator, acting like a protective, semi-permeable wall, keeping unwanted molecules out while allowing the right conditions within. But a cell would quickly die if it couldn't get nutrients or receive information. So interwoven within these layers, we have what we might call olives. These are specialized proteins embedded directly in the membrane. Some are like pimento-free olives, simple channels that allow essential information and food molecules to flow in, acting as open doorways. while others, the pimento stuffed olives, act as highly specialized receptors. Think of them like incredibly specific keyholes, each perfectly waiting for just the right key, a particular environmental signal or molecule.
These integral membrane proteins, or IMPs, are literally like the cell's keyboard for environmental data, constantly receiving input from the outside world. And then, once activated, they trigger effector proteins, acting as the cell's central processing unit, or CPU, interpreting the signals and initiating the appropriate cellular response. Basically, a cell with more IMPs is a smarter, more tuned-in cell, because the more sensory input it can receive, the more awareness it has, which directly translates to greater survivability and adaptability. It's all about how efficiently the membrane can read and respond to its environmental information.
The power of the membrane goes even further into what truly feels like science fiction. In 2011, biologist Michael Levin's team at Tufts University conducted a mind-bending experiment. They altered the bioelectrical voltage of tadpole cell membranes. Amazingly, simply altering this membrane potential, which is essentially the electrical charge across the cell's outer boundary, acting like its decision-making skin. In cells from the backs and tails of tadpoles resulted in fully developed, functional eyes growing in those exact areas, far from where eyes normally form.
Talk about mind-bending. This wasn't about changing genes directly. It was about changing the environment's electrical signal to the cell's brain, the membrane. What's truly fascinating here is, it sounds like real magic, doesn't it? Just by adjusting an electrical signal, you could guide development in astonishing ways.
Now, a key component of the membrane is cholesterol, which is essential for its flexibility and its ability to accurately read environmental information. It maintains a vital balancing act, being rigid enough to hold the cell together, yet supple enough for constant movement and information flow.
You might be thinking, cholesterol. Isn't that the bad guy, the one we've been told to avoid at all costs, the villain of heart health?
Yeah, well, here's where it gets really interesting, as our sources present compelling research that challenges the conventional wisdom, suggesting we've been focusing on the wrong culprit for decades. Histamine, a well-known stress-related hormone, prepares the body for its ancestral fight-or-flight response, and it's also strongly linked to chronic inflammation and atherosclerosis, which is the hardening and narrowing of arteries. Studies in mice show that if they can't synthesize histamine, they resist inflammation and atherosclerosis, regardless of their cholesterol levels. This powerfully suggests that chronic stress, not just dietary cholesterol, is the primary culprit in cardiovascular disease. For years, the pharmaceutical industry aggressively pushed statins, drugs that lower cholesterol, but these drugs have minimal value for primary prevention in healthy individuals and come with significant side effects, all while costing billions globally.
So rather than just unplugging the service engine light when it comes on, we need to look at what's causing the engine problem in the first place. It's like taking a pill to suppress a symptom, but never addressing the underlying root cause. This information fundamentally challenges our entire modern medical model and how we approach health. Remember those clunky atomic models from school, like little solar systems with marbles orbiting a nucleus? Well, quantum physics, emerging at the turn of the 20th century, completely threw that comforting picture right out the window. It turned our entire understanding of reality on its head.
Indeed. At the turn of the 20th century, physicists were forced to abandon their belief in a purely Newtonian material universe because they came to realize, through rigorous experimentation, that the concept of solid matter is, in fact, an illusion. Everything in the universe is fundamentally made out of energy. Think of it like this. If you could zoom in far enough, past atoms, past subatomic particles, you'd find only vibrating energy fields.
So you're holding this deep dive in your hands, or listening to it through speakers, feeling the solid ground beneath your feet. But if you zoomed in with an atomic microscope, you'd be holding nothing, just vibrating energy. It means your body, your chair, the air around you, it's all just vibrating energy, interacting and forming the illusion of solidity.
This profound realization means the universe isn't a collection of separate, disconnected physical parts, but an intricate, integrated web of interdependent energy fields. The flow of information is holistic, with complex crosstalk and dynamic feedback loops occurring constantly, not just a simple linear chain reaction like classical Newtonian science would suggest. This is why biomedical scientists have often been confounded when trying to understand biological systems purely through chemical interactions. They haven't fully recognized this massive complexity of intercommunication among physical parts and energetic fields.
If everything is energy, and we're these massive, thriving communities of trillions of cells, how does that apply to our body's internal communication? How do our cells, our organs, our systems actually talk to each other so efficiently?
Living organisms absolutely must receive and interpret environmental signals to survive and thrive. And survival, for a complex organism, is directly related to the speed and efficiency of signal transfer throughout the system. What's truly fascinating here is electromagnetic energy signals, like light or subtle bioelectric currents, travel at an astonishing 186,000 miles per second, practically instantaneous. In stark contrast, a chemical signal, like a hormone traveling through the bloodstream, travels at less than 1 centimeter per second.
Do the math on that. Energy signals are 100 million times more efficient and infinitely faster than chemical signals. What kind of signaling would your trillion-celled community prefer for instantaneous survival and coordination? Your body, your very existence, absolutely thrives on speed and efficiency.
So, if our bodies are designed to prefer and operate on energy signals, why isn't this mainstream in conventional medicine? Biomedicine, largely operating from a Newtonian materialist bias, has, for the most part, simply ignored the profound role of energy. Despite what Nobel Prize-winning University of Cambridge physicist Brian Josephson aptly calls pathological disbelief from some scientists, meaning a kind of irrational reluctance that says, I wouldn't believe it even if it were true, because it overturns my entire worldview. The public is leading the way. They're spending billions on complementary and alternative healthcare, precisely because they instinctively understand there's more to healing than just chemistry.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
We see incredible, undeniable examples of energy at play everywhere once you start looking, both in the natural world and in human experience.
For instance, a skilled vocalist can quite literally shatter a crystal goblet simply by maintaining a note harmonically resonant with its atomic structure, causing those atoms to vibrate faster and faster through constructive interference until the goblet shatters.
And you've felt this yourself, haven't you? You've certainly felt destructive interference or bad vibes when walking down a dark, empty street at night, or stepping into a tense, silent room, feeling instantly drained, on edge, your energy pulled down. Or that incredible rush of constructive interference, those pure good vibes, when meeting someone special for the first time and feeling immediately energized, uplifted, almost high with connection. It's all about how these unseen energy fields align or clash around us.
Indeed. Ancient wisdom traditions have long recognized and utilized this energetic reality. Aborigines, for example, can sense water buried deep beneath the arid sand, and Amazonian shamans communicate with subtle plant energies for healing and guidance. And modern science is increasingly catching up. Australian researchers in a fascinating study found basil plants could enhance germination rates of chili seeds even when light, chemicals, and physical touch were completely blocked between them, strongly suggesting a non-physical energetic communication.
It's like plants have their own silent, energetic language, a secret network we're only just beginning to decode. And in human healing, the principles are no different.
D.D. Palmer, in 1895, founded the field of chiropractic, focusing on the flow of vital energy through the nervous system, using spinal adjustments to improve this communication. While initially denounced by the conventional medical profession, who dismissed him as a quack, chiropractic has since made great inroads and is widely accepted. And today, lay enthusiasts are even building or buying devices for transcranial magnetic stimulation and direct current stimulation, or TMSTDCS, to enhance brain function, building directly on research about how electromagnetic frequencies profoundly influence cell activity. The public is intuitively hungry for this understanding, pushing the frontiers of energy medicine beyond the traditional.
For hundreds of years, Western medicine, heavily influenced by the philosopher Descartes, tried to neatly separate the mind and body, famously calling the mind the ghost in the machine. But our deep dive today has clearly shown they're not just intertwined, they're fundamentally one and the same.
Quantum physics conclusively reveals that matter and energy are entangled, two sides of the same coin. And similarly, the mind, which is energy, and the body, which is matter, are profoundly entangled. The fact that the mind can so dramatically override genetic programming isn't a quirky anomaly, as many scientists once dismissed it. It points to a far more powerful and comprehensive understanding of life itself. What's truly fascinating here is energy is a far more efficient and potent means of affecting matter than chemicals. This is why harnessing the incredible power of your own mind and beliefs can be fundamentally more effective and profound than simply relying on drugs you've been programmed to believe you need.
We've all heard of the placebo effect, where a sugar pill or a fake treatment mysteriously works just like a powerful drug. But traditional medicine often dismisses it as all in your head, as if it's not real medicine, just something for suggestible patients.
This is a giant, monumental mistake. The placebo effect is an amazing testament to the body-mind's innate self-healing ability and should be a major topic of study in every medical school and research institution. If medical researchers truly leverage this natural phenomenon, they will possess an incredibly efficient, energy-based, and side effect-free tool to treat countless diseases.
And the examples of this power are nothing short of incredible.
Consider the audacious story from the 19th century. A critic of the prevailing germ theory of disease brazenly drank water demonstrably laced with cholera bacteria, and remarkably remained completely symptom-free. Science, utterly baffled, simply stated he was nevertheless incorrect. It completely defied the scientific understanding of the time, but his unwavering belief protected him.
Or the stunning Baylor School of Medicine study in 2002 that found fake knee surgery, where the surgeon merely made incisions, splashed some salt water around, but performed no actual surgical repair, was just as effective for pain relief as real invasive surgery. The lead surgeon himself had previously believed there is no placebo effect in surgery. He was clearly in for a profound and career-altering surprise.
And then there's the controversial yet highly significant 2002 study by Irving Kirsch on the efficacy of antidepressants. He found that a staggering 80% of the effect of antidepressants in clinical trials could be attributed to the placebo effect. The actual difference in outcome between the active drugs and the inert placebo was clinically meaningless in over half the trials. This suggests a powerful role for belief, even in seemingly purely biochemical conditions.
And get this, drug companies are actively studying patients who respond to sugar pills with the explicit goal of eliminating them from early clinical trials, because robust placebo effectiveness is a direct financial threat to their business model. It's like they're trying to remove their most effective yet free competitor from the market.
But if believing you're getting better can powerfully heal you, what about the opposite? The nocebo effect is where a negative belief or expectation actually causes harm, illness, or even death.
And this is truly heartbreaking and a powerful reminder of the responsibility we carry.
Take the poignant case of Sam Lond, a patient diagnosed with a 100% fatal esophageal cancer. He died just weeks after diagnosis, exactly as predicted. But a subsequent autopsy found very little cancer, certainly not enough to have killed him. His doctor reflected with haunting regret. He died with cancer, but not from cancer. He died because he believed he would die. The case haunted his doctor for decades as he wondered, did I, as his physician, inadvertently remove his hope in some way?
This chilling example suggests that physicians, parents, teachers, and even general societal narratives can inadvertently remove hope by programming others to believe they are powerless, victims of their circumstances or their genes. It highlights the immense responsibility we have with our words, our diagnoses, and our collective beliefs. It's like a negative spell being cast by belief, isn't it?
Our positive and negative beliefs don't just influence, they profoundly impact every single aspect of our lives, from our physical health to our relationships and success. Henry Ford was absolutely right when he famously stated, "If you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, you're right."
That simple truth applies to absolutely everything, from your career aspirations to your ultimate state of health.
Your beliefs are like powerful filters on a camera lens through which you view the world and, crucially, yourself. You can consciously choose to use a rose-colored filter, one that frames your life with positivity, sees challenges as opportunities, and ultimately leads to health and growth. Or you can unknowingly use a dark filter, one that makes your body and mind susceptible to disease, putting you in a constant protection response, which rapidly consumes your precious energy reserves. When we choose to perceive a world full of love, opportunity, and safety, our body responds by thriving and growing in health. If we choose to believe we live in a dark, fearful, dangerous world, our body's health will inevitably be compromised, constantly on alert.
What filter are you using for your life today? Take a conscious moment right now to reflect on your dominant underlying beliefs. Are they serving your health and happiness, propelling you forward, or are they subtly holding you back, dimming your potential? Our sources delve deep into what they call our dual minds. We've got the conscious mind, that analytical thinking part you think you're using right now to listen and process all this fascinating information. And then there's the hidden co-pilot, the massive super-efficient supercomputer working tirelessly behind the scenes, the subconscious mind.
The subconscious is our true autopilot, operating at an astonishing speed, processing a staggering 20 million environmental stimuli per second. Compare that to the conscious mind, which, in the same second, only interprets about 40 stimuli. The subconscious constantly reads subtle cues and instantly engages pre-acquired behaviors, all without your conscious awareness or effort. These are our fundamental programs, largely acquired before age 6, deeply imprinted by parents, family, and our immediate community. Unfortunately, many of these developmental programs, as psychologists widely recognize, are often limiting and deeply disempowering.
So if you've ever tried positive thinking, standing in front of the mirror, pumping your fist, declaring, I'm going to be rich and successful, and it spectacularly failed, it's very likely because your conscious willpower was probably fighting a truth hardwired deep into your subconscious. It's like your autopilot is steering in one fixed direction while your manual controls are desperately trying to go somewhere else entirely. No wonder it feels like an uphill battle.
The conscious mind, our manual control, is uniquely self-reflective and possesses the incredible ability to override these pre-programmed behaviors. This, fundamentally, is the foundation of free will. It can observe any programmed behavior, evaluate its effectiveness, and consciously decide to change it. But if our subconscious is loaded with misperceptions from childhood, it will habitually engage in inappropriate and limiting behaviors without our conscious awareness ever needing to be involved. The subconscious operates only in the now, blindly and powerfully following its programming.
It's truly fascinating how our brains develop these fundamental programs, almost like learning to tune into different radio channels throughout our early lives. Our sources explain that our brains actually operate at different electrical frequencies, just like those radio channels.
Indeed. From birth to about 2 years of age, babies' brains predominantly operate at the lowest EEG frequency, 0.5 to 4 Hz, known as delta waves. This is a highly programmable state, like an open-source operating system. Between 2 and 6 years old, theta waves, 4 through 8 Hz, become dominant. This is a very suggestible state, precisely the state hypnotherapists intentionally use to reprogram limiting beliefs. At around age 6, we become less susceptible to outside programming with the increasing appearance of higher frequency alpha waves, 8 to 12 Hz, associated with calm consciousness. Then, around 12, the brain shows sustained periods of beta waves, 1235 Hz, which characterize active or focused consciousness, like reading or complex tasks. Finally, a fifth state, gamma waves, 35 Hz, kicks in during states of peak performance, like a pilot landing a plane or an athlete in flow.
So basically, we're born as little, highly impressionable sponges soaking up beliefs and behaviors, and many of them become our deeply ingrained subconscious truths before we even hit school. It's incredible how much of our core operating system, our very perception of reality, is written before we even have a conscious say in it.
But here's the overwhelmingly good news, the truly empowering part. Your brain is incredibly plastic, meaning it can be rewired, reorganized, and form new connections even well into adulthood and old age. This means you're emphatically not stuck with old programming or even certain conditions. The intricate wiring of the brain is not fixed and immutable at adolescence. It can be powerfully remolded, constantly adapting and evolving.
This truly is a superpower of the human brain. We have a fantastic oft-cited example of neuroplasticity research from a University College London study of London's iconic cab drivers. To get their coveted knowledge license, these drivers spend a rigorous 2 years memorizing the city's labyrinthine streets, all 25,000 of them, without relying on a map or GPS.
Researchers found, quite remarkably, that the spatial knowledge area of their hippocampi, a critical region of the brain for memory and navigation, grows demonstrably bigger during this intensive memorization period. And it keeps growing with more experience. 40-year veteran London taxi drivers have even larger hippocampi. This clearly shows that the brain doesn't just randomly change, it changes in a way that directly increases its functionality and capacity.
And this isn't just a unique phenomenon for cabbies either. The brain's astonishing plasticity means something once learned is never truly deleted, only perhaps overwritten or modified. So even if you haven't played the piano in 20 years, those intricate neural connections that stored that skill are still there, just waiting to be uncovered and reactivated. Your brain knows far more than you consciously think it does, patiently waiting for you to tap into its reserves.
The enormous transformative plasticity of the brain means that even complex mental illnesses like chronic anxiety and depression, cognitive problems like ADHD, and neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and dementia can be profoundly influenced and, most importantly, improved or managed by the patient him or herself, often through intentional training. We don't have to confront illness or accidental injury with fatalistic acceptance. Rather, we can learn to deal with them almost perfectly, leveraging our brain's innate capacity for self-healing and adaptation.
So if we have these old, often limiting subconscious programs running on autopilot, how do we consciously change them? How do we truly take the wheel and steer our own mental ship?
Wonderful question. Techniques like hypnotherapy, focused affirmations, various body-centered therapies, and new rapid modalities collectively referred to as energy psychology,
Yeah.
such as the powerful PSYCHK, can rapidly and effectively rewrite disempowering programs held deep in the subconscious.
We have a fantastic, almost unbelievable illustrative example of this from a psychotherapist using PSYCHK with a woman who is absolutely terrified of public speaking.
For about 10 minutes, the therapist worked with her using a specific PSYCHK change technique designed to create rapid shifts in belief patterns. Afterward, the transformation was astonishing. She not only was visibly more relaxed and at ease, but she confidently and excitedly began talking to an audience of nearly 100 people. Brain mapping research by neuroscientist Jeffrey L. Fannin shows that a PSYCHK balance creates a unique whole brain state, a balanced, symmetrical brainwave pattern that allows for maximum communication and data flow between the left and right hemispheres of the brain. It's like turning on all the lights in your brain and connecting all the circuits, allowing for optimal processing and new, empowering actions.
And the fact that I'm literally holding this book right now, The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, is a living testament to the power of PSYCHK. Because the author himself used it to overcome his own deeply ingrained belief that he couldn't possibly finish writing it.
We often hear the sweet, nostalgic phrase, when you were just a twinkle in your parents' eyes. But what if that twinkle actually programs your genes and influences your future before you're even conceived? It sounds like something pulled straight from a science fiction movie.
It's not fiction at all. It's cutting-edge science revealing profound truths. Research unequivocally shows that parents act as genetic engineers for their children in the months leading up to conception. A crucial biological process called genomic imprinting adjusts specific gene activity, fundamentally shaping the child's character, personality, and even health predispositions. This process is profoundly influenced by the parents' emotional states and lifestyles during that time. A calm, stable, loving environment, free of significant stress or addictions, and supported by family and friends, positively primes the child's genetic expression. Interestingly, Aboriginal cultures have recognized this for millennia, with couples ritually purifying their minds and bodies before attempting conception.
This means the quality of life, the emotional and physical environment experienced in the womb, profoundly influences a child's long-term health and behavior. From their susceptibility to heart disease, stroke, and diabetes, to even mood disorders and psychoses in later life, it truly underscores that nature has an incredible Head Start program to prepare the child for the environment they'll enter.
So children's genes truly reflect potential, not fixed destiny. It's ultimately up to parents and caregivers to provide the nurturing, stimulating environment that allows that potential to develop to its highest, most magnificent expression.
But what about those who, through no fault of their own, didn't get that optimal start in life? Is the impact of early deprivation irreversible? Are they forever limited?
Not at all. And this is where the brain's resilience shines. The Bucharest Early Intervention Project, a landmark study, examined children in institutions who suffered from severe emotional neglect and lack of stimulation, and who showed significantly low brain growth. However, those children who were later placed into loving, stable foster families showed, remarkably, the same amount of white matter development as children raised in families from birth, indicating profound reversibility. It's like their brains, starved of connection and stimulation, literally caught up, blossoming with new connections once given the right environment.
But here's a twist that might genuinely surprise you. Studies show that overprotective parents can, paradoxically, have a similarly negative effect on certain aspects of brain development, specifically the prefrontal cortex, which is absolutely crucial for self-control, emotional assessment, and complex social interactions as actively neglectful fathers. It's not just about constant shielding, but about providing the right balance of challenges and opportunities for social recognition and problem solving, allowing the child to develop agency and resilience.
What truly counts is exposure to situations that give individuals an image of themselves as active agents, capable of overcoming obstacles independently. Passivity and exclusive consumption of entertainment or information generally don't stimulate healthy brain growth. The brain needs to be challenged to solve problems, to engage, in order to truly grow and develop its full potential.
We often think babies just learn on their own, or that putting them in front of an educational video is enough to stimulate their minds. But our sources clearly show how profoundly crucial live human interaction is for language development and overall intelligence.
Patricia Cole's groundbreaking social gating hypothesis powerfully demonstrates that babies absolutely need live human interaction to learn language effectively. In a famous study, 9-month-olds immersed in the live environment learned Mandarin from human tutors who played and read to them. But a second group who saw and heard the same tutors through a video presentation, and a third group who heard only the audio, learned nothing. Their brains simply didn't register the information without the living, breathing human connection.
So putting your kid in front of an educational video, no matter how engaging, is simply not a substitute for talking to them, playing with them, and truly connecting. Your presence, your voice, your genuine interaction, that's the real magic formula for a child's blossoming mind.
And the impact of this early interaction is truly significant and long-lasting. A landmark study by Hart and Risley found a direct correlation. Children in well-to-do families heard an astonishing 30 million more words by age 3 than low-income children. And this amount of conversational interaction directly correlated with higher IQ scores and superior school performance years later. Language acquisition, steeped in loving interaction, played a fundamental role in exercising an infant's brain and shaping its entire organization and neural connectivity.
The ultimate message is clear, simple, and profoundly beautiful. For human babies, and indeed for adults too, the most potent growth promoter isn't the fanciest school, the biggest toy, or endless screen time. It is, quite simply, love.
Studies repeatedly show that physical contact in newborns is absolutely crucial for healthy social and emotional development. James W. Prescott's research, for example, chillingly revealed that newborn monkeys deprived of physical contact developed severe abnormal stress profiles and became violent sociopaths. Human connection isn't just nice, it's essential for our very humanity.
And we see this profound healing power of love in incredible human stories. Take Scarlett, a courageous parent who tragically lost her child in the horrific Sandy Hook shooting. Instead of succumbing to understandable anger, bitterness, and overwhelming grief, she consciously chose nurturing, healing love as her path forward. Her deliberate choice to respond with love had an incredibly powerful, transformative impact. A University of Exeter fMRI study beautifully supported this idea, showing that simply seeing images of love and emotional support before threatening images actually suppress the brain's threat mechanisms, particularly the amygdala, rendering the threat impotent.
This reminds us that humans are wonderfully resilient, and though we might have received dysfunctional programming or experienced trauma as children, our brains are magnificently plastic and can be rewired. You are not stuck with your genes, nor are you stuck with your past programming. Your environment, especially your social environment, and the quality of the love you receive and crucially give, plays a monumental ongoing role in shaping who you are and who you can profoundly become. We've seen just how incredibly plastic and adaptable our brains are, capable of constant rewiring and growth. But can this astonishing plasticity really help us recover from serious, life-altering conditions like a stroke, or even help manage the complex patterns of epilepsy? Can the brain truly heal itself in such profound ways?
Absolutely. Our sources confirm with powerful evidence that the brain possesses enormous powers of self-healing. It's designed to find ingenious ways around obstacles to reroute and to recover.
We have an amazing, inspiring example of this with Pierre Augustinski, a beloved German TV personality who tragically suffered a stroke that left his left hand completely paralyzed. He lost all motor control.
Through a specialized form of magnetoencephalography, or MEG, training, which is a non-invasive technique that precisely maps brain activity, he engaged in a remarkable form of self-directed neurorehabilitation. He would mentally command his left index finger to move, and a device controlled by his brain commands would move plastic clips on his fingers. His brain, receiving instant feedback that its command was having an effect, then learned to move his hand again in real-life situations, like cleaning teeth or eating. It was a remarkable recovery, demonstrating the brain's eager deployment of its enormous potential for learning when it receives positive feedback.
This shows that with the right impulses and focused intention, the brain can literally pull itself out of limited functionality by its own bootstraps. Instead of just flooding it with external drugs, we can help it learn to help itself, activating its innate healing mechanisms.
Similarly, for epilepsy, rather than just relying on medication that often dulls the brain and can cause difficulty concentrating, patients can learn to control their own brain activity through biofeedback and neurofeedback training. Studies suggest that up to 60% of people with epilepsy could work with methods that allow them to significantly mitigate or even control seizures through self-regulation by actively training their brain to return to a calmer, more stable state.
Imagine the sheer power and freedom of learning to tune your own brain, almost like expertly adjusting a radio to get a crystal clear signal. It's about empowering individuals to take an active, conscious role in their own healing and well-being.
Now, what about behavioral challenges like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD or even deeply ingrained patterns like those seen in psychopathy? Can brains truly change these seemingly hardwired patterns? ADHD, while often seen as purely genetic, also involves significant regulatory disorders stemming from early life experiences, potentially exacerbated by parental frustration and inconsistent environments. The brain's immense plasticity means even characteristics with a strong genetic component can be profoundly shaped and modified through targeted intervention.
And here's where it gets really interesting and perhaps a little surprising. Our sources reveal that children with ADHD, particularly in terms of impulse control and a strong desire for intense, novel stimuli, can show striking similarities to the behavioral patterns seen in psychopaths. It's not to say an ADHD child will become a psychopath, but it highlights fascinating overlapping neural pathways and regulatory issues.
But here's the good news, and it's truly transformative. Even psychopaths' brains are open for change. Their fear centers, which are often underdeveloped, can be stimulated and developed. Neurofeedback, for example, can teach children with ADHD to effectively control their frontal lobes, the brain's executive control center, thereby improving attention, concentration, and reducing impulsivity, often in as little as 13 hours of focused training.
That's absolutely incredible. Imagine a game where a child learns to control a plane's altitude or shoots a ball into a goal just by influencing their own brain activity without even consciously thinking about how they're doing it. They're learning to instinctively switch their brains to concentration mode without conscious effort, much like learning to ride a bike. This isn't about medicating away symptoms. It's about self-mastery and true brain re-education.
As we get older, we're often told our brains inevitably shrink, and we just have to accept it as a natural part of aging, perhaps leading to cognitive decline or dementia.
But is that entirely true? Is it just an inevitable one-way decline we have to surrender to?
While some brain shrinkage does occur after age 50, primarily due to some cell death and metabolite buildup, the brain also masters the incredible art of compensating. What's truly fascinating here is the hippocampus, that critical region for memory, is also highly plastic. We can significantly slow dementia's progress and maintain cognitive vitality by remaining mentally active, and specifically training our brains in the right ways.
But not just any training. Our sources strongly advise that simple crossword puzzles are out. Instead, contextual learning and actively seeking out the unusual and novel are key.
Exactly. It's like, instead of just doing the same old football drills every day and risking repetitive strain injury, you incorporate swimming or cycling to build supporting muscles and improve overall fitness. Similarly, challenge your brain with novel associations that force new neural pathways, like vividly visualizing a giraffe on a plane to memorize a list of words, making the connection absurd and therefore memorable. This kind of creative, unusual learning truly stimulates plastic reorganization processes in the brain, creating new connections and strengthening existing ones. Even music, with its profound emotional and pattern recognition capabilities, can significantly help dementia patients form new associations, as the musical parts of the brain are often preserved longer.
Now let's turn to something that affects so many people globally: addiction. Why do we keep doing things that aren't good for us, even when we know better? Like the politician who couldn't stop gambling despite the consequences, or the smoker who fidgets even with a lit cigarette in their hand.
Any desire, from the simple pleasure of watching a sunset to the craving for a savory sausage, can potentially become an addiction if it taps into our brain's powerful reward system. Our brains powerfully connect experiences with intensely pleasurable stimuli, giving them salience. They jump out at us, losing their neutrality and taking on enormous, almost irresistible meaning.
And here's where it gets really interesting and quite illuminating. Dopamine, our brain's powerful reward chemical, actually peaks before gratification, in the anticipation of the pleasure. Or, even more intensely, when that gratification is denied, the brain becomes tuned to wanting, constantly seeking that next hit of anticipated pleasure. This explains why a smoker with a lit cigarette will still fidget nervously if he realizes his packet is empty. His neurobiology is absolutely tuned to the wanting of the next cigarette.
This powerful wanting mechanism is why a staggering 80% of addicts relapse. Situations, cues, and environments previously associated with the addiction powerfully trigger that intense wanting, often completely overpowering good intentions and conscious willpower. The immense power of positive association within the brain is too great for fears or logical consequences to gain the upper hand.
But the brain's inherent plasticity means even these incredibly deep-seated behaviors can be changed, although it's undeniably hard work and requires immense dedication. It requires finding new, healthy ways to relieve stress and experience pleasure, and fundamentally rewiring those deeply embedded, almost automatic associations. It's a journey of profound re-education and self-mastery for the brain. After decades meticulously studying cells at a profound molecular level, Dr. Bruce Lipton, the author of The Biology of Belief, had a truly profound realization that quite literally transformed him into a deeply spiritual person. It was an instantaneous conversion, like a lightning bolt of undeniable insight.
He realized that the intricate protein switches that control all life are primarily turned on and off not just by internal genetic commands, but by powerful signals from the environment, from the entire universe itself. From this, he came to believe, with a profound sense of conviction, that we are immortal, spiritual beings who exist separately from our physical bodies.
What an absolutely profound, soul-stirring idea. So your unique self, your essence, your identity, exists whether your physical body is here on Earth or not.
He used the simple yet profoundly resonant analogy. Our physical body is like a television set. Our identity, our consciousness, is like the unique frequency or antenna downloading a broadcast from the vast information field of the universe. When the TV set dies, the broadcast doesn't cease to exist, it's still present in the vast energetic information field of the universe. Our identity, then, is a complex energetic signature within that field. So the profound implication is, if in the future a new individual with the exact same unique set of identity receptors is born, that new individual will effectively be downloading you.
Yeah.
You will, once again, be present and alive in the world. This breathtaking concept of transcending the physical body is further supported by the fundamental principles of quantum physics itself. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. So the unique energy associated with our identity, our consciousness, doesn't simply disappear at physical death, it transforms.
And even Albert Einstein, our personal hero and the titan of modern physics, offered a profound perspective on time and existence. He famously wrote to a family member of his recently deceased friend, Michel Besso. Now, Besso has departed from this strange world a little ahead of me. That means nothing. People like us know that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. If all moments in time are equally real and accessible in the quantum realm, then death itself, as a final end, can be seen as an illusion. For Einstein, immortality doesn't mean perpetual existence in time, but existence outside of time altogether. This is truly mind-bending, isn't it? And our sources delve into the incredible phenomenon of near-death experiences, or NDEs, as powerful, compelling evidence for these extraordinary ideas of consciousness existing beyond the physical brain.
Take the remarkable, medically documented example of Dr. Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon and a staunch NDE skeptic. His brain was ravaged by a lethal E. coli infection, turning his neocortex, the part of the brain responsible for all conscious thought, emotion, and perception, to mush. Doctors declared him virtually brain dead. He spent 7 days in a deep coma, yet during this time he experienced an incredibly vivid NDE, journeying to supernatural realms with an angelic being. What's truly fascinating here is, his NDE occurred while his higher brain functions were medically confirmed to be completely offline, and he had no memory of his past identity or his life on Earth, only a pure, conscious observer. His physical recovery was a medical miracle, but the real, profound miracle was what he experienced while his physical brain was demonstrably off.
And then there's the even more incredible, truly inspiring story, Anita Moorjani. After battling aggressive lymphoma for 4 grueling years, her body reached a point of no return, riddled with tumors, and she slipped into a deep coma.
While unconscious and on life support, Anita reported accurately hearing conversations occurring in other parts of the hospital, even out of earshot. And incredibly, she described seeing her brother thousands of miles away, responding to the news of her impending death. In her NDE, she had a profound realization. Her cancer was intrinsically linked to her traumatic life experiences, her deep-seated fears, and her self-worth issues. She clearly perceived how her fears and worries about diverging from her cultural programming and family expectations were directly responsible for her severe illness. The most astonishing part. She awoke from her coma cancer-free 5 weeks later.
Anita's story is a powerful, living testament that fear kills. And conversely, the opposite unconditional love, self-acceptance, and joy can literally conquer even terminal illness. It highlights the profound, undeniable connection between our emotional state, our beliefs, and our physical health, right down to the cellular level. This is not just metaphor, it's biology in action.
The story of evolution, our sources suggest, is a story of repeating patterns, like complex fractals endlessly replaying at different scales. We are clearly at a critical crisis point in human history, facing unprecedented challenges. But similar pressures in the past have consistently led to new ways of living, pushing species to adapt, evolve, and transcend their limitations.
Our sources predict, with optimism, that the immense stresses of the increasing human population and global challenges will push us up another rung on the evolutionary ladder, compelling us to come together in a global, interconnected community.
This truly enlightened community will recognize that we are, in a profound sense, made in the image of our environment, and therefore we must operate not in a purely survival of the fittest manner, which historically led to continuous wars and unsustainable resource exploitation, but in a way that actively supports everyone and everything on the planet. This is the new paradigm, survival of the most loving.
And we even have fascinating evidence in our closest genetic relatives. The bonobos, for example, our genetic cousins, consistently create peaceful, harmonious communities, and famously diffuse agitation and conflict by literally making love, not war. This powerfully shows that violence and aggression are not a necessary or inherent part of our core biology. They are often learned behaviors.
Human violence, unlike aggression in other animals, is rarely about basic sustenance or mate selection. It's far too often about accumulating material possessions beyond necessity, escaping through drug use, repeating cycles of abuse passed down generations, or imposing ideological control. We are emphatically not stuck with a viciously competitive or violent nature. We have the conscious choice every single day to filter our lives with love, leading to profound health, growth, and collective flourishing. This, ultimately, is the deepest lesson from the biology of belief.
And that, my brilliant little explorer, is how your body and brain throw dance parties, send secret messages, and help you feel all the feels. Thanks for listening to The Heart of Mastery. Don't forget to tell your belly it's doing a great job. See you next time.